Texas volleyball heads to the national semifinals. Texas baseball has a 14-game winning streak. Austin FC played their inaugural match, and the Alumni are back. All of this and more coming up on College Crossfire.
What the hell's the rest of it?
Where's the rest of it?
Taylor's not even here to defend himself.
I'm so excited.
Welcome into College Crossfire. I'm your host, Jaxie Pigeon, and I am so excited about tonight's alumni show. First, let's begin by introducing tonight's incredible panel. Start us off, Bailey. Just tell us about what you do when you graduated and about yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Bailey Zarpavar. I graduated May of 2014. I am currently based in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm an associate producer for ESPN, and I am usually on the road doing event graphics. It's so good to be back.
Happy to have you back. And second base, we have Lauren. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lauren Barish. I graduated in 2016. Currently, I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm doing content marketing for an SEO company.
Amazing. Happy to have you back too. And on third base, we have Amanda. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Amanda Atwell. I'm currently down in the Valley. I'm in the RGV. I'm the sports director at the local CBS and NBC affiliate down here in the Valley, and I'm happy to be back.
Amazing. I'm so happy to have y'all back. Our first all-women alumni panel that I know of. So I'm excited about that. And let's get to it. On Monday, number 4 Texas volleyball took on number 5 Nebraska in the NCAA regional finals in Omaha, Nebraska. Starting with the first set, with the exception of Nebraska leading 3-2, Texas never trailed. The Cornhuskers kept it close, but the Horns took match 1 25-22. In the second set, Nebraska bounced back and led the rest of the match after taking the 12-11 lead. The Huskers took that one 25-19. The third match, Texas dominated and even had a 5-0 win near the end, 5-0 run near the end, and took the match 25-15. In the fourth and final set, Texas came back from behind and took that one 25-21, which in turn gave them the match victory. There were a lot of Longhorns that contributed to this victory, but who deserves the most credit for the regional finals victory over Nebraska? Bailey, start us off.
Yeah, guys, I'm going Logan Eggleston, the outside hitter. In the third set that they won 25-15, she had 3 service aces. She had 5 in the whole match, but when you have, in my opinion, a service ace, when you can serve the ball and get a point, no questions asked, that's incredible. Not only did she do that, she was tied for the most kills on the team with 18, so I'm going Logan Eggleston for this one.
Absolutely. Logan played an incredible role in this game, and she also, Texas has been struggling from the serving errors throughout the season, so that was key to this win. Lauren, what do you think?
I'm going to kind of take a different approach to this answer. I want to say Jarrett Elliott. When I was at Texas for my 4 years, there was nothing constant about UT athletics. We had different head coaches in all of the programs. We could not find a quarterback to save our lives. The one thing that remained constant besides swimming and diving was that Jarrett Elliott constantly led a dominating volleyball program. He's responsible for people like Destiny Hooker, Haley Eckerman, Chiako Bagu. He not only recruited those people, but helped them move on to volleyball careers after college. This is not new territory for him. This is their 9th Final Four in the last 14 years, 8 semifinal appearances, 4 championship appearances. And let's remember, for Nebraska, this was pretty much a home game. They went right down the road. If you want a player answer, obviously Logan Eggleston. I will also say that Skylar Fields looked incredible. At one point, if you look at her stats, she had 15 kills with 0 errors. So yes, you need phenomenal players, but who recruits them and who helps them get to where they are? I really think that Jarrett Elliott has helped bring this program to new heights.
Absolutely. They're fearless leader, and he's definitely led this team not only this year, but in years prior too. Amanda, what do you think?
I'm going to have to go on the same route as Bailey. If you watched this game, Logan Eggleston was really just a catalyst in a bunch of transitional periods in the game. She just really was there for many major crucial momentum shifts, and without some of her kills, some of these sets would have probably swayed differently. And there's the argument for Skylar Fields as well. Obviously, she tied her with 18 kills, but I just think Logan Eggleston was really the fire behind the force of this team in this game.
Absolutely. And all those are great points, but I'm going to have to give this one to Bailey and Amanda with Logan Eggleston. I mean, she rose to the occasion at the right times, especially when they were down and trailing. I mean, she just peaked at the right moments. So Bailey and Amanda starting out with 3 and Lauren 2. Next up, with their victory over Nebraska in the regional finals, Texas volleyball is moving on in the tournament and will take on #1 Wisconsin in the national semifinals tomorrow night. The Longhorns will be looking to make it back to the national championship game for the first time since 2016, first shot at their 4th national championship title, while the Badgers will be hoping to make a return to the national championship game as they lost to Stanford in 2019 and hope to take home the first national championship title in program history. Both teams have been in the top 5 all season, but Wisconsin has stayed consistently at #1. That being said, do you think Texas can take down Wisconsin in the national semifinals? Lauren, start us off.
I absolutely think that they can. I think it'll be really tough. I want to talk about Wisconsin first. They obviously have a powerhouse team. They're undefeated. And like you said, they want revenge for that loss against Stanford in the national championship in 2019. The one thing that really stands out to me is Wisconsin's grit and their determination. If you look at the stats from that game, Wisconsin had fewer kills, more errors, fewer assists. In fact, they hit a season low 153 average for hits, and they still won that match against Florida. They know how to stay determined, stay in a match, and claw their way out of things. I think Texas needs to build upon the momentum that they already have. And remember that if they get ahead, they cannot get complacent. They need to stick with it and stay strong because this Wisconsin team is ready to claw their way to victory. I will say that I think that whoever wins this match will go on to win the national championship rather than Kentucky or Washington.
All right. Lauren has Texas coming out if they keep it up. Amanda, what do you think?
I mean, I have to agree. I think, honestly, if you can look more at this last Texas-Nebraska game to answer this question, really. If Texas can beat Nebraska in Omaha and beat them as dominantly as they did, really the sky is the limit for this team at this point. I mean, it was a 3-1 victory, but at the same time, some of those sets just weren't even close. And Wisconsin, I'm going to take an alternate route on the Wisconsin-Florida game. I think that game more of showed that Wisconsin is a very beatable team. They had to claw back from victory over Florida, a team they should have beat pretty handily. So I think if Texas continues on the route they are and continues with their consistency and their powerful offense, I think that they'll be able to come out of this one with a victory and then, like Lauren said, likely go on to win a national title.
Sure. And like you mentioned, Wisconsin's match against Florida, I mean, they really came out and eked that one out by inches. So it's definitely, they were knocked down and didn't look like the top seed in that moment. Bailey, what do you think?
Yeah, guys, I think when you play in a tournament, the seeds that you have in front of your name are important to get you into the tournament and get you in the place you want in the bracket. Once you get into this, especially in a national semifinal, it's anyone's game. And I think Texas is playing in a way that I haven't seen in a couple years. They're just so calm. And I don't like the word swag, but it's almost like they have a little bit of swag when they play. I know Wisconsin is undefeated, but so is Gonzaga. Nothing about being undefeated to this point. It's important because you're good. But I think exactly what Amanda said, they're a beatable team. I mean, exactly what Lauren had said earlier too, with the 15 kills and 0 errors for Skylar Fields, you've got her on the left side, absolutely dominant. The thing Texas has been so good at is capitalizing on moments, especially against Nebraska when they're out of system. And Wisconsin struggled with that against Stanford in the national championship 2 years ago and have worked on it. But if you're out of system and Texas can capitalize on those moments, especially with those Logan Eggleston service aces, I'm taking the horns. And I don't love to agree with my panelists here and go right across the board. But if Texas advances to the finals, I don't think there's anyone in the country that can beat them.
Absolutely. I agree with all of you that I think Texas can pull off this victory. But I like Bailey's points about how, Gonzaga was also undefeated and just kind of that change of, you were too high up in that moment, and look what it happened there. And it happens all the time. Even OU up to last night. I mean, Georgia took them down, gave them their first loss. So it's a matter of win. And I think this Texas team can do it. So Bailey, you're gonna get 3, Lauren 2, Amanda 1. And next up, on a not so exciting note, Texas softball got swept by the Oklahoma Sooners in Austin in a dominant fashion. Even in enemy territory, the then undefeated Sooners took care of business and not only grabbed a series sweep, but they also run-ruled the Longhorns in 5 innings, all 3 games. Friday's series opener, OU took 11-1. Saturday's game, they won again 10-2. And then in the series finale, they held Texas to no runs and grabbed the 9-0 win with the series victory convincingly. The Longhorns have 3 regular series matchups remaining against Kansas, Oklahoma State, and Baylor. So how can Texas bounce back from snapping their 14-game win streak with their 3 losses to OU? Amanda, start us off.
This is going to be kind of a cliche answer, but I used to be a college athlete. So I kind of think of this in this mindset of what do you do after just a really rough loss, especially to your rival? And I mean, it's cliche. You just have to brush it off and going back to do what you do. And this loss shouldn't be that much of a discredit to this Texas team and what they've done this season. Oklahoma is the #1 team in the country for a reason. They are a phenomenal program. They are a phenomenal team this year, but so is Texas in their own standings. They are 2nd in the NCAA on on-base percentage, 3rd in batting average, slugging percentage, on track to break their program record of 88 home runs a season. So they just have to kind of get back in the mindset of we are this fantastic team regardless of this win, and just go back to doing what they do best. It's just a situation where you just can't get too much in your head. And from an athlete standpoint, it's just kind of turning the page, turning a new leaf, and just restarting.
Great point there. Bailey, what do you think?
Yeah, I have to agree with Amanda. I think when you look at Texas's schedule, they have 6 losses. 3 of them were this weekend against Oklahoma, obviously all in run rule fashion, which is not what you want to see. But on their 3 games this weekend, Texas combined for 3 runs total, which is crazy. You're going up against the #1 team in the nation, which I think the distance between 1 and 2 is pretty substantial. And then you've got them on a 40-game win streak. It was, 37 when they played Texas. And they were chasing one of the longest D1 win streaks in NCAA history, which you don't do that with a team that's just getting hot at the right time. You do that with a national championship level team. So the Oklahoma losses should not be anything Texas looks at and looks down upon. All of their losses have come against top 25 teams. I think Texas definitely needs to get back to their offensive prowess. They can't get complacent at the plate. They have to do what they've been doing all season. They're up in the top 5 in most offensive categories, which is exactly where they need to be. And the thing for them is they're 3rd in the Big 12 right now. So you've got Kansas and Oklahoma State as your next series. Go get a good series win against Kansas and go battle against Oklahoma State, who's number 2 in the Big 12 right now. I think Texas is going to be fine. I think one thing, too, you have to remember is that a lot like these teams that go undefeated in regular season, they're going to lose eventually. So when do you want to lose? In the regular season where you can learn from it, or in postseason when it sends you home?
Absolutely. Great points there. Lauren, what do you think?
Yeah, I love what everyone is saying so far. Oklahoma is strong for a reason. They were just unanimously voted #1 again this past week. They're where they are for a reason. You can't look at that and think too much on it. Again, to me, I feel like there wasn't much that went right for Texas softball this weekend. There's so much that they're good at, like, the other girls mentioned, they're ranking in so many places. At, a couple of points within the weekend, they left 6 runners stranded on base. One of those opportunities was bases loaded with 0 outs, and none of those players came home. That to me is unacceptable for a team who averages 7.35 runs a game, and they lost 30-3 total scoring this weekend. You can't do that. Their starting pitcher on Sunday didn't even make it through 2 full innings, 2 kind of egregious errors in the infield as well. I don't think that Texas softball is in trouble. They just need to get back to doing what they do best, which is being a prolific scoring team and having that momentum come back. I don't think you can let this get you down. You say, hey, that was the #1 team, but we're here to prove ourselves, and we can win out the rest of this season and make a mark for ourselves going into playoffs.
Absolutely. And I mean, even watching these games, it was the errors for Texas that stuck out the most. I mean, even within just the infield, like I mean, classic, just, ground ball. I mean, there's mistakes made, but you still get the out at first, and it was just these little things that kept building up. So Lauren, I think that, you're going to get the points on this one. I think basically what I'm trying to say is that Texas is not normally like that. And it was this high stakes match that I think got them a little nervous, but I don't think that they are going to struggle throughout the rest of their games for the season. So Lauren, you're going to get 3, Amanda 2, Bailey 1. And when we come back, the panel discusses Texas baseball and Austin FC's debut in Los Angeles. You won't want to miss it.
Men's basketball looks for a key win against Iowa State. Women's basketball is tested against the number 2 team in the nation.
The Longhorns had a dominant pitching performance in the latter half of the game, led by Pete Hansen.
I get to say some of the most exciting words in football. The Cincinnati Bengals are on the clock. And picking for
Texas started the third with the lead and continued to gain momentum on defense.
Hello and welcome into the first social distancing college press box ever.
You're watching a live sports presentation of Texas Student Television.
It's a lovely evening in Austin. Texas Longhorns, Texas A&M Aggies.
This is a rivalry game, high intensity, high scoring.
Puck drop. We're off.
Both of these teams are very fast.
Big collision on the wall there. Now a little advantage for Texas. Shot in the middle.
Welcome back to College Crossfire. Before we jump back in, let's take a look at the scoreboard. Leading the show, we have Bailey and Lauren tied at 7 points, and right behind them, Amanda with 6 points. Let's jump right back in. While Texas softball snapped their 14-game win streak, Texas baseball still remains. The Longhorns will head to Stillwater, Oklahoma this weekend to take on the Oklahoma State Cowboys. The last time Texas stepped foot in Oklahoma State territory in 2019, the Cowboys swept the Longhorns, taking Game 1 15-0, Game 2 10-2, and the series finale 11-10. Their 2020 matchup was supposed to take place in Austin in late March. However, COVID-19 canceled that one. Now, Texas will head back on the road to Stillwater for their 2021 series matchup. What are your expectations for Texas baseball's road series against Oklahoma State? Can they keep that 14-game win streak alive? Bailey, start us off.
Oh, Jaxie, those 2019 scores make my heart hurt a little bit. I think Texas baseball is doing what Texas baseball is known for. For those of you that were not around in the Augie Garrido days, Augie ball, playing small ball, doing your job at the plate. Augie preached, you don't have to be the person that hits a home run every time. You have to be the person that advances a runner. You've got the two leading stolen bases guys in the Big 12 in Mike Antico and Eric Kennedy. You've got guys that are putting down bunts that advance runners every time. Texas is scoring runs, not to mention their pitching staff is intimidating. So I think Texas can keep this up. I'm not saying they're going to continue win streak all the way through this weekend, but I think they definitely take the series win against Oklahoma State. And the thing for the Longhorns right now is they've been battle tested to some extent so far in this season. Obviously that didn't go well for them in Arlington against 3 of the SEC's top teams. But for Texas right now, the big thing is let's beat the top teams in the Big 12 to prove that's where we belong. That's who they have left, and I think they can do it.
All righty. Bailey has them winning out. Lauren, what do you think?
So I think this will be a really hard-fought battle. I think with Texas in the Big 12, consistently, when teams know they're playing Texas, they want to play better. Texas is that big name that everybody wants to beat. So Oklahoma State is going to come to play. Last night, they won 28-0, and they did play Arkansas Pine Bluff, which sounds like a made-up school from a TV drama, but 28 runs is 28 runs. So I think that they have a lot of momentum, but the thing to remember is that Oklahoma State is pretty inconsistent. They're 6-6 in conference play. But I think the biggest, kind of plus side for the Longhorns is that their starter on Friday night, which is the first game, is Ty Madden. He is the 10th best overall prospect in the MLB. That's not just pitching, that's overall. So this guy means business. He's the current ERA leader in the Big 12. I think he will help lead them to a victory on Friday. which will hopefully get them momentum moving into the next 2 games. For me, if they win at least 2 or 3 games of this series, I think it helps solidify their chance to win the Big 12 conference. We've got young guns coming in hot. Ivan Melendez is a sophomore, freshman Mitchell Daly. These guys are swinging the bats like crazy. During their recent 10-game homestand, they averaged 10 runs a game. They just need to keep doing what they're doing. Like Bailey said, they're doing outstanding, and they just need to not get intimidated by a big Big 12 opponent who is ready to take them down and wants that pride of being able to say, we're here to take Texas down. But I look forward to seeing Ty Madden pitch on Friday.
Yeah, having TY on your side is not a bad thing. Amanda, what do you think?
I think honestly, there's really no evidence so far as to why Texas could not keep this win streak alive through the weekend. As a realist, I want to say more than likely it'll be a series win, maybe not a series sweep. OSU is the most formidable opponent that they have faced in weeks, but the key is their consistency, and they've proven they've had it thus far. And I mean, you can say that the past couple weeks they haven't really faced many good teams, but if you think a couple weeks back, they did play South Carolina and they swept South Carolina. Now granted, that was at home, but still South Carolina is ranked number 12 in the country. That was not a series win to just scoff at. That's a pretty solid one, and it's just all the pieces seem to be falling in place at the right time. They have pitchers that are going 8+ innings, and then they have closers that can step in and close them out. We have a kid from our area, from McAllen, Aaron Nixon. He knocks them out as a closer in 3, and it's just they've proven that this bullpen is extremely deep. They have the offensive firepower, like Lauren said, and I think there's no reason as to why they could not win out this weekend and continue the win streak.
Sure. This will definitely be a little bit of a change of pace for them from the past couple of weeks, like y'all said. But I think I really like Lauren's point about how this Oklahoma State team is a little bit inconsistent. I mean, even though 28 runs on the board is a lot, but, you know, against who they're playing. And I love the made-up school. That was great. So, Lauren, you're going to get the points on this one. And heading into the NBA, hailing from the Grand Canyon State, the Phoenix Suns are currently ranked number 2 in the Western Conference. This has been a hot topic in the NBA as the Suns haven't appeared in the playoffs for over 10 years. Despite their lengthy and consistent drought, the Suns finished their Orlando bubble season on a more promising note, going 8-0 and being the only undefeated team in the bubble. Unfortunately, their previous record kept them out of the postseason play. Since then, they have acquired Chris Paul and Jay Crowder and are off to a 24-10 record in the conference play. So, what are your thoughts? Are the Phoenix Suns contenders or pretenders? Lauren, start us off.
To me, absolutely contenders. I don't see any evidence to be able to call them pretenders. They have won 8 of their last 10 games. They're on a hot streak. They have consistently been in the top 5 in offense. They have a top 10 talent in Devin Booker. DeAndre Ayton is really stepping into his own. He's a rebounding machine. I think if anything needs to step up, it's the defense maybe. And their big threats, in my opinion, are the Jazz and the Lakers. Right now, both of those teams are playing without key players because of injuries. So the Suns really need to capitalize on that and kind of hope it stays that way. Another thing, like our beloved Texas basketball and football teams, they tend to play better when they play better teams instead of playing consistent. Right now, the Suns are 22-8 against 500 and over teams, which is amazing. They just need to keep playing like that consistently. You mentioned Chris Paul. Chris Paul is 35 years old and still doing incredible things on the court. He has the ability to lead any teams he is on. He just passed Magic Johnson in the all-time assist list. For me, I see Chris Paul potentially being like what Jimmy Butler was for Miami last year in the playoffs. Jimmy Butler was part of a very young and inexperienced Miami team. He had Tyler Nero, who's only 20 years old and playing in the playoffs, but Jimmy Butler led that team and was phenomenal. I think Chris Paul has the ability to do that with the Suns. I think they will get far in the playoffs. I can't see them winning the Western Conference Finals. I think the one thing that will probably keep them from going super far is that lack of experience. But I think there's no doubt that these guys are contenders and a huge story, and I'm all for an underdog story.
Sure, just kind of capitalizing on, you know, other people's injuries, I guess, could help them out here. But yes, definitely have been a change of pace from last season. Amanda, what do you think?
I'm going to go a different direction, and I'm going to call them pretenders, just simply not to discredit their talent and what they've done so far this season. It's just you have to look at the experience of the team as a whole. And like you said, Chris Paul's pretty old, but the rest of this team is pretty young and inexperienced. And when you get into deeper into the season, into the playoffs, that inexperience in the playoffs is going to show eventually. And so I think it'll showcase, and I just don't think I see this team going all the way.
Sure. Fair points there. Bailey, what do you think?
Yeah, I wish there was like a third option called contenders with an asterisk, because I think the only reason they're contenders right now is because a lot of other teams are plagued by injury, like what Lauren had said. The thing that is so shocking to me this year, 2021 All-Stars have missed 16% of games. That's insane. The NBA, it's maybe not my favorite sport, but the thing that the NBA has is it has stars, and you watch for specific guys on the court to take over and win a game. And when you're talking about this Phoenix Suns team, you've got CP3 and Book on the court consistently healthy playing. You can get plenty of these guys back on the other teams that are injured right now, but the consistency that Phoenix has with these lineups, they can switch looks. They've got guys in and out. People are healthy and rested. You know, you've got guys that are going to come back from injury, like LeBron, who's going to have to rehab, get back his stamina, work back up to his peak level of health. And I think they're contenders because of the situation we're in right now. I think this is one of the most open situations we've had in the NBA. I can't sit here and go, yep, the Lakers are going to win it, or yep, you know, I can't give you an answer for the finals right now. But what I can tell you is I think the Suns have every bit of a chance as any other team because they've not been injured, they've been consistent, and they've got guys on the floor that with the ball in their hand, I want them taking the shot.
Sure. And they have been very consistent this season. And like I just said, it was, you know, a change of pace than normal. You know, back in the day, I was at some Suns games and it wasn't as fun, but missed Steve Nash a little bit. But I really like Amanda's answer here. I think that it's going to show later on the lack of experience in those high pressure situations and further along and, you know, against tougher opponents. So Amanda, you're gonna get the points on that one. And next up, after 2 years of planning, Austin FC made their MLS debut at the Bank of California Stadium in Los Angeles. They took on Austin FC took on Los Angeles FC, and many Austinites made the trip to LA to witness this historic moment and rep the Bright Verde. Heading into the match, Austin FC opened the season ranked number 21, while LAFC was ranked at number 2. With LAFC being one of the top teams, they came out strong and held Austin to 0 goals while they secured their victory 2-0. Now Austin will remain on the road for their next 6 matches before their first ever home opener on June 19th. So tell me, what are your first impressions from Austin FC's inaugural match? Amanda, start us off.
Now, just from watching those highlights that you just aired, you can kind of see, okay, so the first goal came at the 61st minute. When you look at a 2-0 soccer game, you kind of think like, oh, one team was pretty dominant. But no, Austin had possession for 55% of this game. And if you look, they had the opportunities there. It's the fact of actually capitalizing on those opportunities, which they obviously couldn't do. And that second goal that LA had, it was a botched clearance by Austin. So that was a defensive mistake. So this game could have easily been 1-0, really close game. I think it should show optimism for fans for this Austin team. I don't think this is a game to scoff at. It was their first look of ever. And so I think it's something that they could probably be pretty proud of. And I think that they should be a pretty solid team going forward, especially, I don't know if you've noticed, the fan support has been just insane. Austin is super pumped to be getting their first official professional sports team, and fans have rallied around it. The stadium looks awesome. I think it's going to be a really exciting season for this team.
Fans are pumped. Optimism is key. Bailey, what do you think?
Yeah, I think when you look at the shots on goal, you know, LAFC had 24 shots, 9 on goal. Austin only had 12 and only 3 on goal. So 7 saves by the Austin keeper. Hats off to him. What a game. I think the thing with Austin FC, we have to remember it's the first game in a franchise, right? Like, we're talking, this is the first building block. So I think that, you know, they have plenty of work to do. The coach said they need to develop, need to get fitter. Again, it's the first game in their franchise history. I think they need to create more chances. They need to be more accurate on goal. And if they can be that, I mean, the possession also helps them. But the problem is, if you're not creating chances in possession, then what's the point of possession? Yes, you're keeping the ball away. But if the other team in their smaller time of possession is creating chances and scoring, then you're holding the ball, you're tiring yourself out. So I think, they certainly have the opportunity to be great. And if we can, the 7 saves is impressive to me. So, more shots on goal would be great. And I think Austin FC can be, a contender if they really get that underneath them. You got to get a system in place. You got to develop, and they have every opportunity to do that once, especially after 7 road games, they get to play at home for the first time.
Yeah, they'll have a little bit more time to work on the things that they need to do. Lauren, what do you think?
I think this was like a really exciting star-studded event, and I'm not just talking about Vela from LAFC, who's a top player in the MLS, and Pochettino for Austin, who's probably their best player. Let's remember that Will Ferrell is a part owner of LAFC, and of course, Matthew McConaughey, a part owner of Austin FC. This is really exciting. And speaking of star-studded, this was the most watched soccer event over the weekend. That is more than the U.S. women's national team against France and any Premier League game. So people are really excited about this team. One thing that I noticed was that Vela, who again is LAFC's best player, accidentally got brought out 20 minutes into the game because his coach thought he was injured. He just wanted someone to come out and talk with him for a bit. I wish that Austin took more advantage of the fact that their best player wasn't in for the last 70 minutes of the game, but they were creating opportunities and they didn't let LAFC get a huge lead or totally get away with it. They really were kind of in it. So I do think that you can see them being competitive from game to game. I'm not going to tell you they're going to make a run in the playoffs, but I think they did better than a lot of people expected them to. And it wasn't like a Ted Lasso vibe, like where Cincinnati and Minnesota recently had really, really tough inaugural seasons. I don't see that happening for Austin. And I think the fan support is also going to be huge. I'm really excited for them to have their opening game in Austin.
Yeah, so definitely will be a lot of people at that game in Austin. So things are looking up, optimistic in Austin. I wish they would have had at least one goal. That would have made things really exciting. But I do think that all of you guys are on the same page in terms of, this is the very beginning, literally the very beginning. But in terms of just bringing, everyone together, I just think Amanda made great points on that. So Amanda, you're going to get the points on this one. And coming up next, it's Rapid Fire here on College Crossfire. You won't want to miss it.
Sports Show,
the premier sports talk show on the 40 acres. We're back.
Welcome back to College Crossfire for the final time tonight. It's time for rapid fire. In this round, points are worth double, and that means it's still anybody's game. Before we jump back in, let's take another look at the scoreboard. Tied for first, we have Lauren and Amanda with 8 points, and right behind them, we have Bailey with 7 points. All right, let's get to it. Last Thursday, the WNBA draft took place virtually. The most exciting part for Texas Longhorns fans was star center Charlie Collier being the #1 overall pick in the draft to the Dallas Wings. Not only did she have the #1 pick, But in my opinion, she also took home the Best Dressed award. I mean, she looked incredible. Kaiser Gondrezick, Shyla Heel, Kiana Williams, Ileana Rupert, the list goes on. They all absolutely slayed the orange carpet too. So if you were being drafted, what would you wear on draft day? Anybody can jump in.
Oh, I'm wearing a WNBA orange hoodie, no doubt. I want it long like Ariana Grande with like boots and it belted. That's 100% what I'm wearing. No doubt about it.
With it belted too.
That hoodie is so cool. That hoodie is so cool. And it's actually frustrating that like the number of times I've tried to get one, it's so cool. So I'm just wearing the hoodie, tall boots, belted, probably cowboy boots and belted. The WNBA sweatshirt. I need it long. That's what I'm wearing.
I feel like I'm gonna go power suit, and I'm gonna try to play my influencer card and get like some brand to make me a really cool like hot pink power suit, and I can be like a hot pink Barbie power suit, and that's what I would wear.
Yeah, that was like Kaiser Gondrezick had this such a cool suit on.
So in right now. So,
she looked so cool. I was like, I can't do that, but like you killed it, girl.
I was gonna say the same as Amanda. Definitely go with the power suit. I think showing that women can dress the same as men and they can play the same as men. So that's what I'm going for.
Yes. Cheers to that. I'm going to give Amanda the points on this one. And not only is it the suit, but the hot pink. I mean, that is just so cool.
Stand out.
Yes, you have to run it. Yeah. Bailey's repping the hot pink right now. I love it.
Always. Guys, if you look at literally any photo I ever was on TV at TSTV, I was in hot pink. So it's like my signature color. It's fine.
There you go.
Love it. All right, Amanda, you're going to get the points on that one. Next up, throughout your time at UT, each and every one of you played an integral role in keeping TSTV sports successful. Whether it be behind the scenes, on air, or even just supporting others, you are a part of this special group. Now you have each held jobs in and outside of sports, as well as in Texas and outside of Texas. You have a perspective on journalism in the TV industry that we do not have yet as students. So, what advice would you give to current TSTV members?
Oh, God. Save money. Because you're going to be really poor when you get out of college.
Oh, man.
Make friends with everybody. Like, talk to everybody you see. Don't be afraid to walk. I remember when I was in TSTV and I was in the press box at a Texas game and I saw Jane Slater and I was just like, oh. And I was terrified to like introduce myself, and now we like follow each other on social media and it's all cool. It's just understand that these people were where you were at some point, so they're more than happy to talk to you and you could get a mentor out of the situation. But also, yes, save money and be prepared for that first.
I would say just stay true to yourself. At this point, sports broadcasting is such a popular career choice, and there are so many people who look similar, can say the same things, can do the same things. What makes you stand out? What makes you different? And that's what's going to sell you, whether you're behind the scenes or in front of the camera, that's going to sell you to someone else. You don't want to stand in, you want to stand out from the crowd and have something that nobody else can bring to the table. If that's like that photo you showed with Amanda and I at the hockey game, like that was my one thing. I was like, I know hockey. And like, if that's your one thing that you know that other people might not, take that and freaking run with it.
And
like,
we improv for 30 minutes about that hockey game because it was delayed.
Yeah, my advice is that you can. This is the most cliche, cheesy answer, but I swear it is so true. You can literally do anything that you put your mind to. There have been so many things in my career that have scared me. I can't say the next word, but have scared me a lot, and so I have had to be my own cheerleader, give myself a pep talk, not to say I didn't have support along the way, but you have to be the person that believes in yourself more than anything, because no one's going to sit there and go, well, I think Bailey wants an opportunity, or I think Amanda or Lauren would. No, you have to 100% be your best cheerleader, your best critic as well, because let's not get complacent and let's do what we can. But you have to know that anything you set your mind to, there have been so many things in this world that didn't exist. Someone said, I want to do that, and they did it. When I was at TSTV, game day was not a thing. It started to develop in the later years that I was there, and it became a thing. The fact that Jaxie is the first female college Crossfire host, like, really gets at my soul. So especially for the ladies out there, and guys, I know this is the same talk for all of you, but really and truly anything you put your mind to, you can do it. And I have every faith in you. So people have done it before you. I promise you can do it too.
Y'all are wonderful. That was all great advice. I can't not give all of you guys points on this one. So thank you again for being here too. I really appreciate it. And it means a lot coming from y'all that you were in the same position as us. But yes, that brings us to our final question of the night. Finally, I want to take a deeper look into your experiences in TSTV sports. I know for me, at least, that TSTV sports has given me so many new friendships, but also so many great memories so far. Some so great that I have literally cried laughing. Not gonna lie. I'm sure you all have numerous unforgettable moments from your time in TSTV. So I'm curious, what would you say is your most iconic memory from TSTV sports?
Oh no.
I'm going to have to go back to that hockey game, Lauren, because we were sitting on this set and the game was supposed to start, but it was for some reason delayed, but we were live anyways. And I think we were live for 45 minutes before this game. And the fans are getting feisty. It's a Texas State hockey game, and they do not like each other. And a fight breaks out right next to us, and it's like a drunken beer brawl almost comes on to our set, and we are just our commentary got to the point where we're just looking, trying to avoid the fight and looking over at the rink trying to figure out looks like they're wearing burnt orange today, had nothing to talk about. And it was kind of terrifying, honestly, because I think they almost got onto our set at one point. But I have to say that was my most memorable TSTV moment. And yes, it made me learn about hockey, which was beneficial in my first sports reporting job, where we had a hockey team in Amarillo, Texas, that I needed to know about hockey. So.
I absolutely remember that. I remember also at one point we started talking about the mugs in front of us because there was legitimately nothing to talk about. So, good times all around. One of my favorite moments was also from a different hockey game. I had an opportunity to do a story on Malik Jefferson during my time at school, who is an incredible Texas athlete and current athlete. And he happened to show up to one of the Texas hockey games to support them. They tweeted at him and was like, "We would love if you would come." And he showed up, and I was really scared to ask him to do an on-air interview because I didn't want to bother him, and he ended up doing it and being super nice. And it's honestly one of my favorite moments ever, college, sports career, anything. I still watch that interview all the time.
That's awesome.
I'm so torn between my two because they're such opposite ends. Nothing will ever be as inspiring as Julian Owens breaking down sports after every show. And when I tell you the man came with full force inspiration and passion and energy every time,
yes.
You could have had the worst day at school or life or whatever, and you'd come to Monday or Wednesday night shows and Julian would break it down and everything would be okay. I'd be like, I can conquer the world now. Have I written the paper I need to write for tomorrow? No. Can I do it now? Yes. So it's that or me physically running into Vince Young in the press box because I ran the corner because I had to take a camera battery back down to the field, and I literally came around the corner and smacked into him, and he caught me and was like, "You should slow down." And I was like, "I'm so sorry, Vince Young," and I kept running. So those both are just way up there for me.
Oh gosh, that's crazy. I actually had a moment like that, but it was with McConaughey, and I was holding the door, and I didn't notice it was him. And they were like, "Did you know who that was?" And I was like, "No." And they were like, "That was McConaughey." And I was like, "Okay, why didn't anyone tell me?" I just hold the door for him. Nice.
Probably better. Completely unrelated. When I was an intern at LHN, no joke, I had to take Ricky Williams up to a press box suite because he wanted to see his friends. Whatever, no big deal. They asked him for a credential, y'all. They literally said, "Sir, where's your credential?" Because I had mine on, of course. And he looked at me like I was supposed to have an answer. And I was like, looking at the security guard, I was like, "Sir, he has a statue outside. Is that not a credential enough?" And they let us in, and he apologized because he said he didn't recognize him without hair. So that was the weirdest moment of my life when Ricky Williams looked at me to verify his credential. I was like, "Bro, you're Ricky Williams."
You got it yourself.
Yeah, I had
in that moment, I was like, "He has a statue. It's outside. I'll go show if you want to."
I had a Vince Young story too. When I interned at LHN, Greg, one of the producers who was awesome, and in my interview, I said that I grew up a USC fan and I grew up hating Texas because I grew up in LA and they ruined my life in 2005, 100%. And all of the producers thought that was hilarious in the interview. And one of my first days on the job when Vince Young was there, Greg calls me to his desk. I had no idea that Vince was standing at his desk. And I get there and I'm like, oh my God. And Greg goes, "This is Lauren. She's a USC fan. You ruined her life when she was a child." And I'm like, hi. I had no idea what to say. He totally set me up. I was speechless. I didn't know what to do, but it was fun.
That's wild. Well, going with the points, I'm gonna have to give the points to Bailey on the Vince Young story there. He's like, slow down, and you're like, all right, well, that's all you were.
Vince Young tells you to slow down, you slow down. And I was like, yes, sir, I promise.
That I will do. Yes.
Yes.
But Amanda is going to be our winner for tonight. Congratulations. And that being said, it's time for FaceTime. Amanda, take it away.
I don't really have much to say because I actually have to be on TV here in 15 minutes, but this has been super fun. It's kind of a blast from the past, and there's nothing more I love than talking about Texas Longhorn sports. And if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know that I make a lot of people very angry with some of my takes on Texas sports. And yeah, that's about all I got right now. It's been a lot of fun.
So happy that I had all of y'all on tonight. It really brings me so much joy. I was really looking forward to this, and to have an all-women panel for the Alumni Show just made it complete. So thank you so much for being here. And thank y'all for tuning in to tonight's episode of College Crossfire. Make sure to join us next week at 9 p.m. for the College Crossfire Senior Show with Daniel Shee, Henry Corwin, and Thomas Fitch. Before we go, please consider donating to Texas Student Television as part of our week-long 24/7 broadcast event. To donate to our fundraiser, go to supportstudentvoices.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at TSTV Sports on Twitter and Instagram. Lastly, be sure to wake up with the One No Sports Show Friday mornings at 10 a.m. From all of the panelists in our virtual studio and our virtual master control, I'm Jaxie Pigeon. Have a wonderful evening.